Bold leaders, no buzzwords, no BS. This is Mastering Workplace Culture, real talk on crafting workplace cultures that deliver results. Each episode, we go beyond corporate speak and talk with leaders who've actually done it. Those who've faced breakdowns, made bold moves, and built organizations where respect and results carry equal weight. If you're ready to challenge assumptions, gain actionable inspiration from proven mentors, and build a workplace culture that actually works, this podcast is for you.
Hello and welcome to the next episode of Mastering Workplace Culture. I am a co-host and I'm Chris Edmonds, joined by our other co-host.
Hi, I'm Mark Babbitt.
And we are delighted to have Coach John Hughes with us as our guest. But before we let him engage, let me tell you a little bit about John Hughes. John's professional journey began in 1984 at the original Mike's Subs. In 1986, then owner Peter Cancrow recruited John to spearhead coaching and training for franchisees and managers, which eventually evolved into Jersey Mike's franchisee system. Over the years, John's focus has been on fostering a people-centric culture, enhancing leadership efficacy, and establishing robust operational systems to support sustainable operational growth. His philosophy centers on the idea that high-performing countries are underpinned by exceptional talent. One of John's key achievements has been developing Jersey Mike's Leadership Experience Phase 2 program, which deepens team members' connection to the mission and enables those team members to deliver impactful, community-oriented experiences for their customers. With the backing of a remarkable collection of colleagues over the decades, John and his team have operationalized cultural values into a comprehensive organization-wide framework. John is almost retired from Jersey Mike's after this stellar career. So, John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm going to send this to my mother. She's going to be very impressed with me. So,
I love it.
Yeah, I always, every time you hear a bio, you're like, wow, who is that guy? And, but it's kind of interesting because that's kind of how it started. As I'm in my career, I tell the story at 19. Like a lot of people, I didn't have the aptitude to go to college and didn't have a skill at that point. Wanted to be a coach. My dad was a coach. My mom was a teacher. And I would say I was lost, but I was very concerned about my options. And I got a part-time job when I went to junior college in 84. And let's just say that, be honest, be right place, right time. Peter decided to franchise, and I was going to go back to school, and he has a way of talking you into things. And he said, "No, I don't think you want to do that." And I was like, "No, I don't." He said, "Well, why don't you do this?" And I said, "Okay." And as they say, that literally the rest is history. We went public 2 weeks ago or so.
Yeah.
We just we took Chick-fil-A off of their 11-year run of customer satisfaction. So, and I don't think we did anything different than what I was taught, by my parents, first of all, but also what we did from day one. We were serving people a product. We weren't serving product, people. It was always the purpose was, those relationships that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Crazy ride for sure.
As Chris already mentioned, you were with Jersey Mike's since 1980. Your titles there, SVP and brand ambassador and coach of leadership and culture, or just coach, gives us insight into how you help build culture across that business. Before we dive completely into that, we want to know, when did the coach moniker happen and why?
Well, my dad, I was fortunate enough to have a father in my life. He's since passed. And, I wanted to be him. And everywhere we went when I was younger, some of my earliest memories were him taking me to practice or scouting another high school or going up to his alma mater in Seton Hall University. And everybody called him Coach Hughes. And everybody loved Coach Hughes and told me how awesome my dad was. And so that always stuck with me. And then, that's what I wanted to become, was a phys ed teacher and a coach. And, when that didn't work out because of, I just wasn't a very good student. I didn't know at the time. A lot of us didn't know at that time either. ADD and dyslexia wasn't something that people were being diagnosed with. Subsequently, I've been diagnosed with both, which is fine. I call them my superpower. But when we first started to create the training programs, I didn't know. So I found a manual from this company, and another franchisee came in and gave me his from Kentucky Fried Chicken, and somebody gave me some from Bonanza and Taco Bell. And I got all these manuals and materials, and they were all the same. And then I had to create a lot of it. I had to create a lot of the curriculum, a lot of the material. It wasn't just, hey, pick the bottle up, put it down, sprinkle like everybody thinks. And I realized that I said, I need a framework for it. So I created playbooks for everything. So you had a closing playbook, an opening playbook, a slicing playbook, a sprinkling playbook, a hiring playbook. Everything was a playbook. And I just started using all of the coaching components. Again, because if you look at the industry I'm in, it's physical, there's teamwork, stamina, coordination, rhythm, and all those things are as a sport, it's physical, so it was a perfect fit. So I started handing out whistles, a coach's whistle, probably about, I want to know, maybe early 1990s. And then it just took off from there. And it was funny because there were some people that would come in and I would use so many sports analogies that they would whisper to me or come up to me at break and be like, Coach, I was in the band. I was which is fine because my mom was a music teacher, and I learned that a musical instrument is probably harder than, dribbling a ball. But that's where it kind of came from. And then I just chased, I just wanted to be the best coach I could be. And I just studied, everything I could do that came with coaching. I picked it up, whether it was a biography with John Wooden or Coach K or whomever it was at the time. And that's what I realized was that as a leader, what are you doing? You're coaching, you're teaching, you're mentoring, but how do you do that? So that's where the framework came in. But that's kind of how it happened. And some people don't even know my first name. There's some.
That's Coach.
Well, it is. They do know your first name, Coach. Yes.
I know.
Pretty cool.
But like I mentioned earlier, I think for me that moniker means a lot because there's so many people out there that are in that position of leadership of a coach, but they don't know how to do that job. And because they're in that position, they think that everybody should just do what they do, listen to what they're doing. And it's not about what they're doing. It's about who they're doing it with. And I realize that, and you guys have studied it as well, as you listen to the best coaches out there. And I'm just going to go back to John Wood because everybody knows he is, but he was a teacher. You look at, Coach Krzyzewski or any of the great coaches out there. What were they really? They were nurturers and teachers and connectors and relationship building people. And then the byproduct of that was the X's and the O's and the, all those kinds of, things that people chase on. But the really way to go about it is through people.
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking, John, as I spent 30 years in leadership development, and a lot of what we were teaching were wonderfully well-proven basics on how to set clear goals, how to identify what somebody brings. Are they committed? Great. Do they have the competence? No. So then we're going to build competence. But as as the world has gotten ever more technical and complex, you now have people who are bosses, leaders, coaches who don't know how to teach what some of these younger people are charged with doing. And so I just love the playbook idea because it really can become, I need to know what I'm supposed to do first, second, third, fourth when I'm closing because it's important. We need to have the whole organization ready to kick off for the next shift in the morning, that kind of thing. So I love that idea of the playbooks. And my guess is those playbooks are still in play today.
Yeah. I mean, I think as we've gotten bigger and any brand, some of the corporate words, or I don't want to use corporate words, some of the more standard words start coming in, and some of the uniqueness of the sports approach kind of gets diluted a little bit. It's not certainly gone, but I remember being whether it be SMART goals or whether it be Eisenhower or whether all these kind of standard boilerplate approaches to these things were great and they're useful, but I realized it wasn't good for me. And what I found was that the saying of baseball, we're talking about baseball, Mark, the field the distance between first and home hasn't changed. The ball isn't any bigger or smaller. The bats have changed a little bit. The only thing that has changed is the people playing the game, and everybody wants the same results by not changing. The people, they have to understand the people piece. Yeah. I think that's a big thing that's lost in coaching is it's not so much the X's and the O's, it's the people who are the X's and who are the O's, and how do we get to know them and what's their motivation and what's their drive and why are they doing it? Because as a coach, the worst people to coach are the ones who really don't want to do it.
Yep.
And that's a big part of it too, is finding the athletes or the employees who want the job, don't need the job,
Well, and that leads me to the question about your training program is among the top in quick service restaurant sector. And you've won many awards for that training program's impact on the Jersey Mike's business. How, though, Mark and I are very focused on how do you make values come alive in an organization.
Yeah.
How are Jersey Mike's cultural values embedded in that training?
So it's interesting, founder Peter, he didn't tell you what to do. You just learned to pay attention. And, at a certain point, you wanted to be him. He was charismatic. He was successful. He was a good looking guy, everybody. And then I realized that I can't be him. And then after that, maybe 10 years later, I wanted to do what he did, at least. And I realized that there were things I'll never be able to do. And there were things that I might have been better at. But the last probably say 20 years, if I'm going to break it up into that, I realized it's not about being him or even doing what he's doing. It was why was he doing that? So I really kind of was like, why is he doing, treating the community this way? Why is he opening stores this way? Why is he not, doing a lot of things that the other companies are chasing? The other piece of that was with the with the way we were building the brand, I realized that it was one thing is we didn't have per se a mission statement. We didn't have corporate core values. We didn't have a lot of the things that every company has today. And when I asked him about that stuff, he was like, "We don't need that. We just live it." And then as I grew, I realized that, okay, that's great, but I'm the only person here. I need to have some type of roadmap for people to follow it.
Playbook almost.
A playbook, absolutely.
Huh.
And so we kind of brought in a mission statement, and we didn't have core values up until recently, where the new ownership came in and they established a set of core values. But we always had them. We just didn't have them on a wall.
Yeah.
Have them, on the bottom of our letterhead. It was just understood. And while I think it was very effective, but you need some type of formality of that. And so, yeah, I learned that over the last probably 10 years in particular, that what was really needed was a North Star, a compass for people to follow. Why are we doing what we're doing? And I'll ask kids today, I'll say, what's your job? And they'll say, to manage a sub shop. I go, no, it's not. Your job is, doing the dishes, making the sandwich, but your purpose is people, and everything you do is for somebody else, and you get something in return. So make it about the person, and then the product is secondary. So we always put those things first, and they were kind of an informal. It wasn't formalized, but I think there was a need for that. And actually, your book, Culture Engine, I probably picked it up. It's probably 10 years ago, 7, 8 years ago when I picked it up, and that book became my playbook, honestly, because I had never really. I had to create this core values curriculum. How do you build a core value? And I did what everybody else did, and what you said not to do, and that's Google. How do I come up with a core value? And I picked something that popped up, and I had more core values in 8 minutes. And what I realized was that you can't do it in 8 minutes. It takes 8 months to come up with core values. It changed once we established those core values, or at least we were teaching how to establish them within each individual organization, and then each leader would come up with their own core values. Things just changed. It just gave people guardrails. We have one franchisee. I'll give you a quick story where they had 3 stores, great guys, strong families, strong faith. And they had 3 stores. They want to be the best company in the company. And they went to a conference, and we were talking, and I shared your book, and they ended up sitting for 5 months. They had it up on the board, and they wrote stuff up on a whiteboard, and they shared it with their parents, and they did this and did this. And they came up with their 5 core values, and then they adhered to those. They hired, they trained, and they removed people based off of those 5 core values. And within 3 years, they became the first franchisee of the year within our brand. And they attribute that to their core values. One of them, and I'm sure a lot of people use integrity, which is an interesting one. I studied that quite a bit, but they had an opportunity where one of their managers said, "Hey, I have a friend of mine that can load a program on our computer for free, pirating it, and it would have saved $220, whatever it was." And this one owner tells a story. He goes, "You know what? If I'm going to live those core values, no, we're going to pay for it." Just that one little act, or sets the tone for everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's if the leaders are stopping and explaining, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to go ahead and buy it. We're not going to bend the rules, cheat, be in any way unethical. That has a powerful impact.
Yeah. And you go into, a car dealership. Okay. And I'm not stereotyping, but something like that. And then there are walls, they have their core values, but then you're sitting at the desk and you're talking, of integrity up there. And that what you just did right there isn't integrity. And then you have this over here, but then this just happened. So, what are they really? They're just, too often, they're just a bunch of words that people meet about. They feel really good, and they say, go and make sure these things are being followed. They don't coach it. I mean, it's every day.
Yeah.
All day. You have to, you have to live it yourself first, and then you have to coach it and weave it through. I just give you examples to talk about integrity or the things that the main core about. Excuse me. Probably about, 10 years ago or so, we, Peter, the owner of the company, would go out in the stores and he would visit stores and he would see certain things. And one of the things he noticed was we were under slicing. Now our sales, our average unit sales were going up. Profits were going up. The company was doing really well. We were selling franchises and we were on a positive trajectory. And he goes out and he visits the stores and we're making money. The franchisees are happy with food cost. Customers are happy. But he's going in all these stores and we weren't putting enough meat on our sandwiches. So how many people would say, shh, no one knows, so let's just keep it quiet. And this is great, And so let's just not tell anybody. So instead of, and you're charging $10 sandwich, but you get $9 value, he came into our office and said, everybody out, get back out into the stores. And I want you to make sure we're putting not enough meat on, but more than enough. And there's people who say, well, why would you do that? It's a bottom line focused approach. And he's like, but customers work hard for their money. And I want people to come back and feel that it's authentic value where everybody is shrinking the cup size and where everybody is going from a high quality to a medium quality, where they're trying to trick customers into upselling or bundling. And all those things are things that you have to do. But that was to me a sign of integrity that, and I tell kids this all the time, he didn't have to do that. But he went in and what he did was he by doing that, he told everybody, we have this called one extra slice mentality. Whatever you give somebody, you give them an extra scoop, you give them an extra squirt, you give them an extra slice. And that was one of those things that I took and I wove that into my, the training through the course of the week. And just that one little story, you see the light bulbs go off.
Huge.
Pow, pow, pow.
John, is the story you just told an example of how because early on you had to help franchise owners completely buy into your and the company's vision of talent and culture development and integrity. Besides being able to tell those stories, how else did you do that? How else did you get them to focus on people over profit?
Well, part of it is at a certain point, I don't know when it was, I use this term, we stopped selling franchises and we started awarding them. And what I mean by that is, you can have a lot of money, you can have an amazing portfolio. And again, I'm bringing Peter into this because, he's getting a lot of publicity, but a lot of it had to do with him. He just wanted to watch you walk from your car. He wanted to, if you walk through the parking lot, he would look through the windows. And if you didn't nod and make eye contact with somebody else, did you show up on time or were you punctual? Because if you're on time, it means you just weren't late, right? Punctual is respectful. He'd never see he didn't look at your financials. He didn't look at he wanted to know if you coached or what do you do in the community. He would ask you those questions. There were other people that would ask the other questions, but what he wanted to know, who are you? Who are you? You're going to be part of this brand, and this is the culture. I love this. Jim Knight said it, and you guys, Jim, I think, and he wrote a book, Culture That Rocks, and he said something that really is exactly what Peter did, and that is, your culture is who you have on the team. You don't change the culture for who you have. You change the people. You don't change the culture. And that's what we did was we didn't bring people in who didn't already have those traits evident when we met him. Peter was a gut guy. Other people needed to be taught how to see that. He just had a feeling, and he wasn't right all the time, but most of the time he knew. He's like, there's something about this person. It's just the questions they're asking are too much about how many stores they can have, what's their territory. I want to know they're going to give back to the community. I want them to know that they're not just going to hire a person and hire minimum wage. I want them to hire above minimum wage. I want them to, not just teach a kid how to make a sandwich, but teach a young person how to interact with another human being. I want to give back, not because I want something back. I want to give back because we want other people to give back. And I truly believe that is exactly what made us who we are. It wasn't the amount of meat we had on the sub. It wasn't size. It wasn't quality. All those things mattered. I truly believe, as I'm sitting here today, the reason we became the number one brand in a country is because of the people that we selected, we chose, we awarded this opportunity to, and we made it really damn hard for you to get on the team. And Mark, you'll think of that too, where I always look at it as a coach in high school, most schools can't recruit. So some do, and private schools do certainly, but most schools, if you have coaching baseball, if you have a certain approach, maybe hit and run, you're a hit and run type of coach, but then you don't have the players that are that kind of a baseball player, you have to change your approach. But in college, and and that's your comfort zone, you're a hit and run kind of a coach, you now have the ability to select hit and run players. Mm-hmm. And that was a big part of it too, is in having a culture that was kind of vague. We just brought people in that kind of fit that mindset, that belief. And wasn't not all the time. People slipped through. But we got better at it. We started to what happened there? That wasn't right. And we would talk and we'd say, this person shouldn't have been on the team. And it's you don't win on the field, you win in the locker room.
Yeah.
And when players have each other's back, you don't have to like each other, but when you support each other, there's nothing better than that.
Well, you're exactly right. And the idea of when it's values are a little bit vague, then if you're batting 800, that's pretty good. But it does mean that there's 20% of the folks you're hiring may not be a perfect fit. They may not, be a good teammate. They may not be a great customer or service provider when they're at the end of their shift. They're tired, that kind of thing. And I'll bet you that you didn't tolerate people who did not fit. And that helps slowly to kind of have people watch and go, oh, well, this is more of what they're wanting us to do. It's a little slower.
Everybody wants to know what's the secret. And you can walk into any one of our stores with a phone. You can talk to as many managers as you possibly can. They'll tell you everything that you can do. You can duplicate Jersey Mike's down to the screws that hold the sneeze guard down to the countertop. So why would you pay a franchise company to do that, right? And there's other things. But what I found was that wasn't the secret. The secret was the person wearing the blue apron. And then it was kind of in reverse, right? It didn't start with culture. It started with the behaviors of this person that we were looking for. I call it top performer, right? And we have all these traits and behaviors that these people do. And then what we did is we started with that list, and then we boiled that list down from maybe 90 to 100 traits and behaviors down to 5 specific ones. And then all those other traits went underneath it. So what I created over time was write down who you want on your team. I want to know the arteries, the veins, the ligaments, and no less than 80 words. And people look at me like, what? I'm like, trust me, it'll just flow. And then what we're going to do is from that list, we're going to identify your core values, not mine, yours. And then we'll come up with ours. And that was something I learned from your book was, with my wife, we have our core values as a couple, but we have our core values as individuals. And what we teach people is don't take your core values and make them everybody else's, right? Everybody has their own, but these are our core values. And we have this great exercise where we debate and we argue and, we say, well, no, this is integrity. This is servant leadership. And then, and that's the magic is when, and then all of a sudden this person who is a needle in a haystack becomes very clear. And, one of the things that I always loved early was about our brand, and this is statistically backed up. it was less than 1% of the people who wanted to buy a franchise get awarded a franchise. It was harder to get into Harvard, Jersey Mike's than it was to get into Harvard. That's the thing is, and what was it? It wasn't money. You couldn't buy your way in. You had to, core values your way in. You had to, it was who you were. That's who we sold to. Yeah. We didn't sell to a restaurateur. We didn't sell to an entrepreneur. We sold to a person. And then this person believed and not just believed, but actually lived these behaviors and traits. And it's crazy. I as I'm saying it out loud, I just see what's happening in our world. I see how many people have good ideas, have great products. They want a franchise, and then at the next breath is, but kids today don't want to work, or it's hard to find good people. It's always been hard to find good people. Good people are working, so don't get out of bed.
Yeah. I'll tell you, you made me think of something that about my baseball coaching career I'd never thought of until just now, Coach. When you come through the baseball system, you probably start with, although I started in high school as a former player, it was easy to get into the high school ranks. But then especially as your kids come along, Little League, Babe Ruth, high school. And in every one of those scenarios, you have certain circumstances. And one of those circumstances is you were geographically limited unless you're a private school.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, those sons of bitches, they would all of our best players. That they, you were limited geographically on who you could invite to the team. And you would hope in some of the smaller towns I coached in that you'd have 11, 12, 14 guys who actually wanted to play baseball that year, right? Well, then I come to Colorado, and my youngest son is a good enough ball player to start playing travel ball. And he started at, 12. And there, your team culture dictated how well you recruited other players.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me. Why did we always end up getting the best players? Why were our parents? I had a parent having a team out of 96 miles away, and they would drive their kid 96 miles each way for practice because of the culture we had. And it wasn't that. It wasn't those parents who just say, "Hey, Coach, can you pick up my kid? Hey, Coach, can you drop my kid off?" No, this required a commitment, right? Yeah. And it didn't even occur to me. And by the way, recruiting is no different, I imagine, for franchisees is what we're explaining here.
Yeah.
You get to pick the people that are on your team. And we just 100%. Didn't pick players. We pick their parents.
So I'll give you two quick. My daughter played soccer. And she wanted to go to PT, so there's limited amount of schools for that. I wanted her to stay close, obviously, right? And she had some schools in Jersey, some Philly, maybe a little bit of Southern New York. She ended up also having a couple schools up in the Rochester 6-hour away mark. Two things quick. One was I remember going to a school 2 hours away, bigger school, nicer facilities. And we get there and the coach, we had to wait 45 minutes because the coach didn't show up on time. We drive 6 hours, smaller school, maybe lesser things. We get there, the coach is out front. My daughter I asked her why. The reason she picked that school, because she didn't feel valued at the other school.
Mm-hmm.
The other story was she got asked, she was playing on a local club team, doing very well. But the way it works, as guys know really well with getting into college today, you got to play in these select teams. And she gets asked quietly, and she goes under the radar to this academy team. And we're kind of keeping quiet. Her uncle was the coach of this team that my daughter was on. And I remember she decides to make the commitment and go to the academy team because that's the way she's going to go to college at these showcases, stuff like that. But anyhow, what happened was I'm dropping my daughter off at her uncle's coaching session. And backtrack. I go to this first academy one. I don't know if you guys have daughters, but you're not allowed to walk next to your daughter when you're the dad. You got to stay in the car or 5 feet behind you. So I go, but she says, "Dad, I got this." And I walk up, and she talks to the coach, and there's 4 other girls, but the girls ignore her, and she's standing there all by herself. My pride and joy, and I'm like, "Oh, what have I done?" Then the coach points, and my daughter follows these other girls to the field. The next day, we go to her uncle's practice to tell him he's leaving. And we walk up, and I'm about to tell her uncle we're going to go. And he goes, "Hold on, John, 1 second." And he says, "Hi, Mary," to this other girl. "Come on over here. Hey, Mary, this is Michaela. Girls, come on over here." And Mary was going to try out. And I went, it was a double. What have I done? And I realized at that moment that coach didn't give a crap about my daughter. Mm-hmm. Alex, it was all about Mickey. Her daughter's, I call her Michaela. Her name is Michaela. We call her Mickey. And that whole 2 seasons she played, it wasn't a team. Everybody was hogging the ball. It was all about highlight reels. It wasn't, parents weren't hanging out with each other. It was a huge lesson for me and validation that why do people want to work? A lot of kids who don't have to do because they want to be someplace that they feel valued. They feel like they matter. They feel like, they're around people that are going to respect them. You know what I mean?
Serving the community even?
Yeah. I mean, early on, Mike subbed this little tiny, and I'll send you some little tiny sub shop on the road. Like literally, I'm looking at the front door because I'm sitting in the original store right now. And the front door is a sidewalk away from the road. No parking. We did 1,000 sticks of bread a day. And there was 15 other places you can get a sub, but people would wait in line because of the way we bantered with them. But what happened was, I didn't know this at the time, but when you got a job here, it was a big deal. People were like, "How'd you get a job there?" I go, "I don't know. Peter asked me to work there." He asked you to work there. I know. Well, how'd you get an application? I go, I didn't. He saw me and he heard about me. I might have been in line. He may have heard about me or in the, local sports stuff. But what he did was he said, "Who is that person?" And I always joke, we never said, "I don't know." We say, "We find out." And he said, "Bring them in." And next thing the person will be working with us, and it was those are the things that I had to duplicate early on.
And it's that interesting intuition that is pretty hard to teach.
Yeah.
And it's where some of the playbooks and systems and structure you created helped you help other leaders, especially at other shops within the Jersey Mike system, get comfortable at finding the right players more often than not.
Yeah.
Well, and as you learn, Coach, that those kind of behaviors become contagious, and whether it's on a soccer team or in a franchise, if somebody sees somebody going, "Hey guys, here's our new guy," everybody come over and meet him, shake his hand, introduce yourselves, right? Make him part of the team right away versus just throwing under the wolves. Mm-hmm. Well, then even if you're not there, the next time a new guy comes in, somebody else is going, "Hey, this is Peter." Yeah. Everybody come say hi, right? And we had quite accidentally on my baseball teams, I had the same group of parents for a long time, and we had 2 tests. One of the tests to see if you were going to be a good fit on this team, and most people who joined the team joined as a guest player. There was no commitment. They would come and play 1 weekend with us, and we'd see how it goes. And the parents had their own tests. And one of the tests was, if you bring your grandparents Do you just sit them in a chair and sit quietly by yourself, or do you introduce them to everybody else? Because if you introduce them to everybody else, you're our kind of person, right? We don't want you to just sit over there. Yes, you're new. No, not everybody's extroverted, but we wanted everybody to feel like they were part of the family, right? Second thing is, in between double headers, did that dad go and get just him and his boys something to eat? Or did he offer to get everybody else, maybe as a Jersey Mike's box of subs?
Yeah.
Or at least offer to pitch in on whatever the family solution was. But if he just went and got something for himself and his son and nobody else, nope, you probably weren't going to fit a great fit for our culture. And the parents decided that, not me.
Sure.
And it's just an example of how everything you're describing becomes contagious. And the parents, I guess it was natural for the parents to have their own subculture, right? Yes, your boy's a talented ball player, but man, you went and got lunch by yourself, and we don't do that. Right?
You know what? And you think about, like, there's lots of possible core values, but I would venture to say that most people are going to probably come up with the same dozen.
Very similar. Yeah.
Right. So I started to see that. And then I'm like, okay, well, so it became more not just the core values, it became the behaviors that were supporting the core values. And one of the things I used to really, in the last probably 5 or 6 years or so, was when an owner would come in, franchisee would come in to, say, a room of 50 or 60 managers, general managers, assistants. There's all different levels of people that come to my class. Every owner has to come. I never set any expectations. What I did was I said, here's our orientation. Our onboarding, and then I would just watch. And what I looked for was, did that person sit by themselves? Were they on the phone during the breaks? Were they, interacting with the different 5 or 6 other folks at the table? And what I realized at the end of the week, is this guy going to be a good franchisee or not, was based off of one thing. And that was, if one franchisee came in and there were 50 managers, how many of those 50 managers would work for that franchisee? And very rarely, and this goes as credit to our development team and stuff like that, because they really learned this, was there somebody that just didn't get it? I didn't coach him this ahead of time. I didn't say, hey, you know what you should do? And hey, you should probably do this. And I just said, here, you sit here and do whatever. And then I would just
watch. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'd say, okay, if these 50 kids, young people, wouldn't work for this boss, bully, manager, egotist, owner, then, we have a problem.
Yeah.
And the ones who did, at the end of the week, I would literally pull them up in front. We hand them a football, and football is always kind of the owner, Peter, got the financing from his football coach. This football became kind of a metaphor for us. But I hand him a football at the end of class, and I say, the purpose of the football is to protect it, but you need blockers. And if you don't respect the people who are blocking for you, they're not going to block for you. So that's kind of where it comes to, is, it starts at the top. Like it really does. It starts with that coach, and it's not about coming up with some really cool core values that nobody else came up with. It's about, treating people with respect.
And to take that analogy a step further, the blockers are out there hustling, busting their ass for you as the running back, and you half-ass it.
Yeah.
They're not. What message does that send? Right? Yeah. Are they going to be as willing to be 15 yards downfield throwing the next block if they know you're just going through the motions behind them? And the answer is no. So.
Yeah. And there's different things over the years that, my family raised me. Thank God. I had both my parents in my life. They got divorced at some point, but it was great. I lived in a little bit of a bubble fantasy, but, and then working, or had one job prior to that. This guy, Mr. Hoffman, he was an ice cream, and he was a mentor of Peter's. And then I had Peter, and Peter, again, wasn't a guy that was coaching you all the time. He was, but not, you didn't know it. So you had to pay attention. And there were little things that, you would see him do, and you would emulate him. And there were times I didn't know why I was doing some of it, but then it became, I was like, oh, okay. I'll use an example. Opening a door for somebody. I'll ask managers, I go, when was the last time somebody did open a door for you? And everybody laughs. And they go, oh, yeah. I go, okay. When was the last time you opened a door? And everybody laughs again. They go, oh, yeah. I go, well, what happened? They go, well, I opened a door and they didn't say thank you. So I said, did you stop opening doors? And they're like, well, yeah. I go, all right. Well, when you did open a door and they said thank you, how did they say it? And they say thank you with a unexpected surprise kind of tone in their voice. But then did you pay attention to the way they smiled? And when they smiled, did that make you feel good? So I have this joke where if you want to feel good more, open more doors for people. And everybody just spends their day. They come in the morning, they got their checklist, they have a deadline they need to meet, they got a catering order they need to do, they put the truck away, and then it's Tuesday. And it's the same thing again. So everybody's got their focus on here, and it's all this stuff on the side that is just, I don't want to say it's ignored. It's just not paid attention to.
And it may not be measured formally. A lot of organizations don't know how to do how do you measure the degree of respect people show each other amongst their peers and their customers? It's hard to do, but you can do it.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I think that's one of the things where culture, how do you measure culture? I'll give you an example. Like when the new company came in, and, as it went from a private company to a big company, and all the pundits out there are saying what they're saying and stuff. And what it came down to was, how we were being treated, and, for me, I was treated well. Thank God. But a big part of it is I know exactly what it should look like. And it just blows my mind that people don't get it.
It's exactly the case. How do you know as a leader whether or not others on the team think you're living those behaviors?
I think for me, what it's been, it wasn't the feedback. It was, I would either go or hear from these different owners who were implementing some of the stuff I was teaching them, but then also showing me stuff that they found out on their own. So our best franchisee groups, I feel, out there are the ones who don't have manager meetings to talk about numbers and talk about who's the new hire and talk about what's the new. They're the ones who rose and thorn. They do the rose and thorn thing. They're the ones who have created within their own organization kind of the Make-A-Wish Foundation thing, where they find somebody on the team that just, needs to pay the rent this month. I look at our company and I look at why we are where we are, and I really can't come up with any other reason, is because of our franchisees that believe that this topic right now matters, and it's at their core how they want to run their businesses.
And by making that values alignment and respect and validation the norm of their culture, productivity goes up.
Yeah.
Results go up. Customer service goes up. And you guys are doing that already.
Well, and two, like what I didn't know because it wasn't measurable, and we have some more resources at our disposal now. And I was told just recently that our tenure, our turnover rate for our managers within our system is like 7 years, opposed to like 3 years within a lot of the other direct competitors. That's from a manager standpoint. So our managers are staying 7 years, not 3. And then you have your employees that are staying 4 times to 5 times longer than the average employee. And not just that, but 80% of our sales from a franchisee standpoint are coming from existing franchisees. So yeah, I guess when it comes to measuring, I didn't know where to grab those things. But what they did in their research and their due diligence was like, yeah, this culture thing is important. And it is a big reason why Jersey Mike's is the way we are.
Yep, as successful and as desirable an employer as you are.
John, we are unfortunately past regulation or going into overtime.
Sorry about that.
I don't want to let you know. We want to acknowledge the fact that your time at Jersey Mike's is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want your leadership legacy to be? What how do you I mean, thinking maybe you haven't had time to reflect on this yet, but what do you want people to say about you after you're gone?
I will say this, that the way I've been recognized and treated as I'm going has been amazing. The respect that I've been shown is embarrassing at times. I think that I was always buried down here in the training center doing what I know Peter wanted me to do. I was probably the most autonomous, had most autonomy in the company. And it's a good thing and a bad thing because, I still wanted to be, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I still want to be involved, but then he left me alone, which gave me the confidence that he trusted me. And what I feel like I did was I think what I did was I gave people, I don't want to say permission, but validation that you can run a business through the front line rather than the bottom line. Because I truly believe that our success has to do with the front line. They drive the top line. The bottom line takes care of itself. When you start squeezing numbers out of people leave, And, my legacy is, I forget the number was many thousands of managers. And then you take that and then you times that times 10. And the number, I forget what it was very humbling. I may have showed you let me show you real quick here. These are all signatures.
Wow.
So that's just one thing. That's a surfboard, but there's stuff all around my training center here that's signed. And about maybe a month and a half ago or so, I wanted to take pictures of this place so that I would have memories. And they ended up tricking me and made a little video. And the line I said, and I got emotional when I said it, was when I was 19, I was scared, lost. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted to do. Peter believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. That job turned into a career. That career turned into a passion. And then I realized that as you're talking about my legacy, what did I accomplish? It was all of these signatures in here represented a responsibility, meaning I don't know who half these people are. I don't remember them, but I know that signature is a person that I had an impact on, and a positive impact. And I think that my legacy is that I hope that I help people become better versions of themselves. And that's where the Be Best You is going to come. I'm on this journey myself. And every time I learn something, I don't want to keep it. Hey, I just learned this. Hey, share it and help people out. It, other than that, I got to think it's pretty lonely, I'm proud. I can say this. I've always doubted that, the hypocrisy, the fraud syndrome, and you're up here and you're talking about how to live your life and be a good leader and do this stuff. And then you're driving home and, in your marriage, just all these different things. And I always felt like I don't want to get exposed. I don't want people to think I'm not lying. I've never lied, but I'm not perfect. And I'm a work in progress. I see coaching. Every day I'm looking to become a better version of myself. And I think if you take that and you whatever business you want to run, if you can help other people become the best versions of themselves, and I don't think it's so much a skill set as them believing in themselves, finding value that I matter, in this industry, you guys know, a lot of people think this is a dead end industry. Well, that's how people see themselves. Most of the managers say, "Oh, yeah, I couldn't do anything else, so I ended up working in the restaurant industry." And my response is, "So?" And they're like, "Well," and I go, "And?" Meaning,
Yeah.
What are you going to do now?
I mean, so yeah, legacy.
Pretty powerful legacy, Coach. And we do want to give you the opportunity to ask kind of when you're not at work, and I'm not sure you're never not at work up to now, are you thinking about some, I know there's companies across the globe that can benefit from your programs, development opportunities, etc. But are there some things you want to do in retirement that'll be something that you might have wished you could have done 20 years ago, but were involved in this other passion?
I'm a competitor, I think, at the end of the day. And you had said something earlier where I didn't have to look for an audience. The audience came to me. I gave the audience what they wanted. I remember years ago at a speakers conference, I heard a guy in front of all these NSA speakers, and he said, always remember the audience is there for them. They're not there for you, so make it about them. And that registered because I said, wait a second. These employees are here because they have to be. How do I get them to want to be here? So on Monday, they're here because someone paid for them to be there. But on Friday, they don't want to leave. Then I've accomplished my goal. That competitiveness to me is, all right, everyone tells me that what I've done can work a lot of other places, but I've never done it. I'll have that opportunity here in a near future. And I hope that it has similar results. I still don't know. Everyone's telling me, "Oh, Coach, you're going to be fine," and blah, blah, blah. And gosh, I appreciate that. But
you'll get your feet wet for sure. Mark, what would you like to add, sir?
I just want to say what a pleasure it's been talking with you over the last hour.
Yeah,
your passion for this. The subject, the passion for the people you've coached over the years as a parent, and man, I wish I'll just say it. I wish Chris and every one of our clients had the coach mentality that you do, John. Our lives would be so much easier.
Yeah. And their companies would be way better.
Yeah.
Well, again, what's your purpose? You guys are looking to become the best version of yourselves, obviously, and then want to help other people. And it's a business, certainly. But I think knowing you guys is a little bit, as I'm getting to know you more, is, at the end of the day, you strip that all away. It's making you money and it's a way to make a living. But I got to believe that you guys, this is why you get up every day. And if you could do it, I've been blessed where I don't have to maybe do this because I need to make a living. So I'll get to do this because I want to and I get to. I don't have to.
Yeah.
I'm blessed that way.
Good for you.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, good luck in that next chapter of your life.
I appreciate it, and that chapter will include both of you guys. I hope. I think. Right.
I think so too. Well, listeners, thank you to Coach John Hughes. We know this has been chock full of insights that you can apply in your own workplaces, and we have many, many more guests to come who will be possibly as good as John is in communicating some of his successes. And we've got 20 other episodes already recorded that I think you'd love. So find Mastering Workplace Culture wherever you find your typical podcasts. It's available in video, audio, you know the drill. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next show. John, again, thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye, Ron.
This has been Mastering Workplace Culture. No jargon, no corporate fairy tales, just leaders who show their scars and celebrate their wins. Do something with what you heard today. Subscribe, share, take action. Creating a culture that equally values respect and results is your responsibility. Go own it. When you're ready to make that happen, we're here to help. We'll catch you in the next episode of Mastering Workplace Culture.